Hello and welcome to Insight Germany. My guest today is a political analyst and business consultant who served as an advisor to the head of the Palestinian negotiation team back in the 1990s, leading up to the peace talks in Madrid. Akram Baker is American-born of Palestinian origin. He's also a writer and has been widely published in the New York Times, Die Zeit, and many other important newspapers and magazines. You might have come across him before, as he's been a guest on a number of DW programmes as an expert on the Middle East. Welcome to the programme.
Thank you, Robin.
We do want eventually to talk to you a bit about the Middle East, but really we want you to be an expert on yourself and get your insights about living here in Germany. So I want to start with your background because, to quote your hero, Mr. Springsteen, born in the USA and an American passport, but a Palestinian at heart?
Palestinian at heart. I mean, that's pretty much correct.
Yeah. But born in Norfolk, Virginia, I
Yes.
believe. Well, what type of place is that?
Norfolk is, I think, the largest naval base in North America, if not the world. I think it may be the second largest in the world, but it's where we live, that entire Virginia Beach, Norfolk neighborhood. Funny enough is that I was born in the same hospital as Clarence Clemens, Bruce Springsteen's saxophonist. So there's a little
Legendary
yet
saxophone.
another connection there
Yeah.
to the boss. But that's where my father was, got his bachelor's and his master's from Old Dominion University.
And I wanted to ask about your parents, because I said of Palestinian origin. Were your parents Palestinian then, or
Yes.
was it further back?
Well, it was actually my great-grandfather who emigrated to the States. And my great-grandfather and great-uncles are U.S. veterans, fought in World War II. And my parents were cousins, which I said explains a lot in my case. But they were most of their brothers and sisters were born in New York City. Mm-hmm. So they moved to the States when they were very young.
And you sent us some wonderful family photo. I actually particularly like this one. Is this your mum, dad, and siblings?
My mother, my father, and my older sister and my next younger sister. There are actually two more now, but they were born later.
And you're on the right, obviously.
And I'm on the right with hair.
I have to ask you, what's behind you? Is that an extraordinary wallpaper?
Yes.
Or it's not a wood.
No.
That is.
These were one of those things in the 70s. It was very big. There was a place called Olin Mills, which was this very large Photoshop chain. And you would go and take the family pictures there, and they would put these backgrounds behind you.
Oh, I see.
So as you can tell, we're very well dressed according to the 70s with my plaid pants and the wide collars.
Yeah.
It looked very cool, very retro. If you
Well,
like.
retro, as they say, 70s. Another photo now with a really nice haircut, I must say. And it's not easy to make out, but there's a cake you're holding in your hand. Yes. Now, and there is a significance to this cake, I believe.
Yes, this was at my school right before, I think it was the last day of school, before we moved with my family to Palestine. And one of my classmates' mother had made a cake for me, and they brought it to the school, and it was kind of a goodbye party for me before we left the States.
Yeah, this intrigues me because there you were, an American boy of 15, and your father decided to uproot, go to Palestine. What was all that about?
Well, my parents apparently, back then I didn't really understand it. I can't say I was happy about moving to Palestine. I was very much an American kid. And being 15 is not, I think I was 14 or 15, I obviously can't really remember, but that's a tough age to begin with. And then to move to a place which is, shall we say, not, but I didn't understand what it was anyway. But my parents had always wanted to move back, and my father was a professor of psychology, and he decided he got a position there at the university, and decided to leave. They left a very comfortable, middle class, upper middle class existence. 2-car garage and a pool, and in suburbia in Michigan. We were living in Michigan at that time, and to move to Palestine. So,
well, we'll keep in the right order of time, but history repeats itself, if I may say so, with your own family in a bit. But before that, I'd like to know when you first came to Germany and why.
Moved to Germany. I mean, I think the first time I visited Germany was in 1990, other than Frankfurt Airport. The first time I actually visited was to visit my then girlfriend, half Palestinian, half German, young woman at that time, still a young woman. So that's why.
This is the person who's become your wife.
It's become my wife.
I
and the
see.
mother of my
Yes,
children.
be very careful.
Exactly.
Yes, yes, yeah. But and what were your first impressions of Germany then? Apart from, I know you were sort of clouded by love.
Absolutely.
But
the first place that I visited was Munich, because that's where Muriel is from, where she was born, and it was all very new. And I think the first impression was, wow, this place is clean. Oh, wow, it's efficient.
Yeah.
Really, the trains run on time. There are clocks everywhere, and the beer is excellent. That's about it for the food-wise, but the beer was great. Those were my first impressions.
Okay. And as I said, history kind of repeats itself. Your father and mother did this, took teenage children to Palestine. You started your family here with your lovely wife, and you also went back. You actually, more than that, you left, if I may say so, a very good job at Daimler, and went to Palestine. Why?
Well, I guess, you have to put your money where your mouth is. And I'd always been involved for many years in politics. And I always wanted to do something instead of always complaining and not doing something. I wanted to be proactive. Actually, we both did. And we decided to take our two young children at that time. My son was born in Hamburg. My daughter, it's her birthday today. Happy birthday, sweetheart. It's my daughter Yasmin's birthday. We moved to... we decided to move back to Palestine to see how could we do our part in trying to change the reality on the ground.
Yeah. And your children were obviously too young to really comment on it as such.
At that point.
Yeah, okay.
Right. I mean, kids are kids.
Yeah, but you're back living in Germany now, and I wanted to go now to a report about multicultural children, because this city, Berlin, is getting very multilingual, and one hopes multicultural as well. Let's have a look at some other examples of families here whose parents come from different cultures. They share just two of the languages they share there. How many languages do you speak?
Relatively fluently, 3.
Really? Well,
yes.
And they are obviously English.
German.
Is that your native?
Yes, English is very much my native language. I speak them German and Arabic. Depends on the subject, I guess.
And tell me about your kids. They're being brought up multiculturally and multilingually. How many languages do they have?
I mean, they're fluently bilingual English-German, and they also speak Arabic. They understand more than they can speak.
And how did you... Actually, we've got a nice picture of your family here, which we should... Oh, technology, it went to another photo. Is it still staying on the family photo? It is. This is the family photo. And how did you do it with the kids, actually?
I only spoke with them in English, and my wife only spoke with them in German. And the two older ones actually started school there in Palestine. And the youngest one was born there, so they spoke Arabic, and the older ones read it and write it too.
And do they still speak Arabic?
Not as much as they used to, because it's neither of our mother languages either. It's none of our native tongues. So, but they still do.
Where do they? I'm wondering what you think of the education system here. I think Berlin is quite privileged.
Yes.
You laugh. What do you want? No, please tell us.
The education, I mean, on one side, it's excellent. I mean, our kids go to the Nelson Mandela School, which is a wonderful school.
And a bilingual school.
Bilingual school.
Yeah, there's lots of them, actually.
Right.
And this, I should,
say, it's a state
state school. This isn't paying.
No, it's not a private school. It's a state school.
Yeah.
We very much wanted to send our kids to state schools. And it's a wonderful education system. My problem with the German education system is that they don't have a system of substitute teachers. And very often when one of the teachers is ill or can't make it, the kids just lose they don't have a class. And that happens often. And it's not a problem with our school, it's a problem with all schools. They don't have this substitute system like we did in the States. So often, I find our kids will come home for, 2-3 hours and then go back to school because, the teacher's not there or this didn't happen. And that's the only thing that I find quite annoying.
Do you know, I find what's strange is this country has one of the most extraordinary cultural heritages ever.
Yes.
But they don't have music classes in school. It's always extracurricular. Or a lot of the time, a lot of schools.
Correct.
I think your kids might be at a school where it is in the class system.
Our school, I think the Nelson Mandela School is something special. It's really a wonderful school with a wonderful school spirit. And they do have a music department there, and they do have music classes. So it's they're definitely getting that. Okay. Our kids are getting their own musical education.
Yeah, this is another side of my guest that we'll come to a bit later. Yes, I want to come to our questionnaire because I was really intrigued by a lot of the things you wrote as answers in our questionnaire. We asked about the likes and dislikes here. And first of all, I come to German culinary achievement. And do you remember what you wrote there?
I think I laughed.
You did? You wrote, ha, ha, ha. Is that because you don't like the German cuisine? Or?
I find German cuisine is somewhat special. It can be good, but it has to be made really, really well for German cuisine to be good. Unlike Italian cuisine, which is never really that bad. You could always eat it.
Pasta. Yeah, anybody can cook pasta.
Anybody can cook pasta.
Yeah.
But German food is extremely, extremely difficult to make well, and it's usually made very badly. So, no.
Okay. But you did, however, put something down as
that's
great
right.
German culinary achievement. I think this is intriguing for our
Döner
audience.
kebab.
Döner kebab is invented here in this city, actually, in Berlin. Right. And just the other day, by the way, the inventor of the Döner kebab has sadly passed away, Kadir Norman, who was a Turkish immigrant living in Berlin. And I should also quite mention, because I don't know what it's like in America, but a Döner kebab here is very different to the one you get in Britain. Yes. And in other countries. They're very different. Here, I recommend it to anybody to try out.
That's right.
The next one that really intrigued me was your favorite German word, and this is an interesting one, Beziehungsweise. Do you know how to translate that?
I have thought about it, and I cannot find a real translation for that word. I think even earlier I used it today with you when we were speaking English because there is no, I don't even know an Arabic word for it. I don't know an English word for it.
Yeah, well, we were intrigued. Our production team were intrigued. And actually, on DWTV, there is a thing called Word of the Week, and it was featured recently. Now, just quickly, it says, no words confound a learner of the German language more than Beziehungsweise, better known by its abbreviated form, BZW. This word has no English equivalent. You could say but, rather, alternatively, respectively. It really is difficult to translate. We won't go into it further now because we're not a teaching course, but there's one to think about should you be learning German. Good German characteristic. What do you think? Do you remember what you put there?
I think I put their work ethic.
And their honesty.
And their honesty. They're very straightforward and honest. I like that.
And their irritating German characteristic, which we have to have both sides of the coin.
Absolutely. Yeah. Germans can really be very annoyingly righteous. And
in what way?
And that they would rather, they will spite their, they will cut their nose to spite their face just to prove that they are right. And everybody's a policeman and they tell you what to do and what not to do. And it can get annoying having random people on the street telling you don't ride your bicycle on this side of the road, or don't cross at this point. And
yeah.
So yes, there are some annoying things.
We should turn slightly positive now and say best kept secret in Germany.
Oh, good Lord.
You actually
the Germans are very tolerant.
Yes.
And
now I find that quite interesting one. Yes. Why do you say that? I mean, as an American Palestinian, you know, as a multicultural person living here.
In my generation, I think, when you look at the older generation, less so. I mean, I'm stereotyping or I'm generalizing here, but my experience has shown that my generation I found them to be incredibly tolerant of other cultures, of other people. I'm very accepting. Berlin is also especially so. But when you look at the younger generation, you find a little bit of less tolerances, which is a bit scary.
Really?
Yes, you either have, even though they've adopted a lot of both Western, even Arabic. I mean, I've heard blonde kids, blonde German, atypical German children using Arabic words in the street.
Yes.
And I was a bit surprised. And I asked, are you Arab? And they were like, no. It's like, why do you use those words? Like, everybody uses them. I thought, okay. But I found a lot of, unfortunately, had some bad experiences with younger teenagers, kids in their early 20s.
With your kids?
No, with Germans.
Why do you think this is, if the older generation is more tolerant? I haven't heard this before. I'm intrigued. You know, why do you think that could be?
I think a lot of it had to do with when East and West Germany reunited,
I should say.
Reunified, or
yes.
the unification. You had, I don't know, 20, 30 million people were absorbed into the West, and their whole lives changed. And everything about their lives, all of a sudden, wasn't there anymore. And I think they hadn't been exposed, again, I'm generalizing, they hadn't been exposed to a lot of foreign cultures other than Eastern European cultures. And I think they found that a bit difficult at times.
And you think this is sort of moved over to the rest of the youth of West, or has had an influence?
Part of it. But again, this is just a feeling. But I go back to say one of the best hidden secrets about Germany is that they are incredibly tolerant people of others, even if they don't always show it. Germans are, I always like to say, the French act complex but are very simple, and Germans act simple but are very complex. So,
Well, it's intriguing to hear that, because I haven't heard that, but you have a point. Anyway, you also put down as the coolest living German the designer Dieter Rams. So let's find out more about the man who shaped the design of one particular German company and indeed influenced modern design perhaps more than anyone else in the latter half of the 20th century.
These household appliances from the electronics firm Braun are up to 50 years old, but they still look amazingly modern. They were designed by Dieter Rams, one of Germany's most influential industrial designers. Clear, elegant lines, colourful knobs, and handles over simple white with very little print. Rams got rid of the superfluous with great success. His designs are respected the world over. A trained architect, Rams joined the Braun company in the mid-1950s. Just a short while later, he was managing his own team.
It was a time in which we wanted to sweep out the old, redo and improve everything. That was our concern at the time.
His first design was an overnight success. A radiogram which Rams designed together with a colleague, Hans Gugelot. Whether it's an alarm clock or a heater, as Braun's chief designer, Rams was responsible for it. He helped the firm to develop an individual style and modernize its appearance. His quality products, made in Germany, are in demand the world over, right down to the humble electric shaver.
It shaves so gently at the neck, and yet so close, my customers love it.
Rams received many awards even as a young man.
Well, I think Dieter Rams is probably one of the most important industrial designers that we've seen. I mean, even today you can see very huge amount of similarity in modern product and industrial design running through companies like Muji and Apple.
Dieter Rams has also designed furniture for Witzo. His open, flexible shelving system set international standards. At home, Dieter Rams also uses his own designs, from the coffee maker in the kitchen to the furniture in the living room. He designed it all himself.
If I were to start over again today, I don't think I'd want to become a designer. I've done enough. You know my motto, less is more. We need to decelerate things in every respect. I mean, we don't need so much. We just need to do things better.
Which is what Dieter Rams' designs are all about. He's a man who's always been ahead of his time.
And Dieter Rams is my guest, Akram Baker's favourite German person, really. Yeah. Do you actually have any Dieter Rams things in your own house? Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, whether it be the clock or the coffee machine or the juicer, and you know, if we're really honest, if you extrapolate that, you don't have Steve Jobs' sense of design, or Apple for that matter, without Dieter Rams.
Yeah, it was mentioned briefly there, but it's actually looking at the piece, you think of it. I mean, it is there's a lot Apple can be thankful for from him.
And I also think that Dieter Rams influenced not only the industrial design of our consumer goods. For me, he symbolizes everything good about a German hotel. I'm a big fan of German hotels, of less is more, very simplistic, classy, elegant designs, well run, very functional, and beautiful at the same time. So
it sort of leads to I have a question here. Could he have been anything else other than German?
Absolutely not. Maybe Danish, but
yeah.
I like to think that, no.
He kind of sums up.
He's very German.
Yeah. He said there at the end, if he could do it all again, he wouldn't want to be a designer. We have too much. You've lived in consumer heaven, America.
Or consumer hell.
I was going to say, I don't want to class it as that, but kind of the opposite. Yes. I mean, do you think there is too much consumerism? As a father of 3 children, is it a tough one?
It's incredible. I mean, it's horrific at some point. And the amount of freedom doesn't mean too many choices. And sometimes when you walk into a US supermarket, the sheer amount of choices you have for cereal, for example, or anything, it's too much. It becomes a burden. And
do you find it much better here, or just as bad? Or
it's definitely not as bad. Definitely not as bad. It's going towards that. And not that I don't like choice. I do like choice. It's very important. But what I think, if you really want to differentiate the two, if we had to describe, for me, mass-produced products in the States are everywhere, badly made, and very inexpensive. The moment you want to have products, whether they be food or furniture or anything else, of high quality, the price skyrockets. Not that you can't get it, you can get it, but it's incredibly expensive. Whereas in Germany, you have a level of quality, which I've traveled a lot in my life. I have yet to see a overall standard of quality that you find in Germany, almost everywhere. In the houses, in the cars, in the and the things that they design and they make, they're simply well made and affordable, like organic food. If you want to eat organic food in the States, go to Whole Foods. With a family, you have to be rich to be able to do it. And here you can.
The Germans are very demanding, though, of quality.
And rightly so.
Yeah, no. But I think that may be part of the reason.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Where Americans just want the cheaper price. That's also not true. They also want quality, but you don't miss what you don't have. Yeah. And all Germans of all strata understand what quality is.
Okay. Let's solve the Middle East problem, because you are an expert on this. We've only got a few minutes. No, you said on Quadriga, another program of ours recently, the whole charade of negotiations in the Middle East is nothing but a facade to perpetuate the occupation, and I see nothing coming out of this. That's pretty pessimistic, if I may say so. Are you that pessimistic for the future?
For these negotiations, absolutely, because they are nothing but that. And, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over again and expecting a different result. And here we are, 20-some years later, doing the same thing with, at some points, even the same people, rehashing the same thing and expecting a different result. And it's not going to happen.
So when you were doing it 20 years ago, you were a younger man. You were working with Faisal al-Husseini, head of the Palestinian delegation at the Madrid peace talks. Were you more optimistic then?
Absolutely.
And that's changed completely because they're doing the same thing. What have they got to do then?
Well, I mean, there's...
In a nutshell, obviously.
Sure, in a nutshell.
Sorry.
Solve the Middle East problem in a moment. The key to solving the Middle East problem is ending the Israeli occupation. There's no way around it. There's no shortcut around that. Unless the Israeli occupation is ended, you will never have peace. And the only ones who have the authority and the leverage to do that is the United States, along with the EU. They need to tell Israel, we do not accept occupation from anybody. And if you look at it was 20 years ago and look at it where we are today, there's no land left. The settlements are being built at an accelerated rate. I've lost hope, and I've lost hope for that. And I think we need to move on to a different dimension.
But not, I mean, presumably you still believe in negotiation, or not?
No, negotiations not for the sake of negotiations. We say Israel wants negotiations without a settlement. And the fact is that they love negotiations because the negotiations are going nowhere. And at the same time, why is it perpetuating the occupation? Because the settlements keep growing and growing and growing. You have to understand that the occupation in and of itself is extremely violent. And that needs to end if we want to secure the future of Palestinian children, of Israeli children, of children throughout the Middle East. They have to understand that there cannot be an illegal military occupation. There's no symmetry here in this conflict. It's not two sovereign nations arguing over a piece of land. It's Israel the occupier and Palestinians the occupied.
I mean, I must say, you do criticize the Palestinians as well. I mean, you took part in a debate, one of the Doha debates a few years back, called the debate was called "The Palestinians Risk Becoming Their Own Worst Enemy."
Yes.
And you spoke for the motion. If I remember rightly, you won the motion.
Yes.
And why do you think this is? Why are the Palestinians their own worst enemy?
I think the Palestinian leadership, the political leadership, has failed miserably. And if you look at the Palestinian Authority, I mean, for many years I've said it needs to be dissolved. It has no use. If its one goal was to end the occupation, they have failed at that. So what is their purpose? And we need to move past all of this. We need to think beyond these normal ways of thinking, and we have to shift the paradigm. And that's what hopefully we can do.
I mean, I should mention too, you're not sort of sitting from a position here in Germany. You did live there with your family, as we mentioned, between 2003 and 2007. And then you got thrown out, I believe. Can you just briefly tell us what happened there?
Sure. I mean, I just have a U.S. passport, and my wife also carries an Israeli passport because her father is a Palestinian, but from the Galilee, which is Israel. And the Israeli government has never recognized our marriage because she's Christian and I'm Muslim. And there was a point in around 2006 where they started denying Palestinians or Westerners working within Palestinian areas, denying them entry, because I lived as a tourist. I had to keep going and coming in and outside of the country.
Oh, I see.
And it reached the point where actually our youngest daughter was born in Jerusalem, and the Israeli authorities took my name off of her birth certificate and changed it to my wife's maiden name and removed my name from the place where it said father of child. And we had to leave.
Wow.
So we moved back to Germany.
We'll leave it there for the moment. You've learned a lot about my guest, Akram Baker, and his involvement in the country of his heart, Palestine. Now, in our final report today, you're going to find out about a completely different side of Akram Baker, or should I call him Sid?
Sid is a fun guy. I like Sid. I like Akram too. Akram is my real self, but in a way, Sid is very much part of me, and he's the musical part of me. It was musical love at first sight. We're a band. It sounds like the Wild Circus, and that's who we are. So we're very proud of it, and I'm proud to work with all of them.
From the first time I met him, it was a very special thing about this. I think he's a brother in mind for me.
As the waves break over my denial, and the mirror is lifted off fog, as there's some justice so to this reprisal, or is it just another wrong?
Sid is a multifaceted individual. I see his musician side, not the sort of high-profile, restructure of banks side. Yeah, it's delightful. He's a very energetic and zealous and passionate man.
I want to tell you, you're my everything. Take a walk and say the no thing. I just want you to go, and everything.
So I think Sid drives the band really hard, but in a very positive way. He's generally not shy to say what he thinks and just sort of make sure that the songs are getting in the direction that he wants them to go. So having a band leader is very important, and I think Sid plays the role really well.
Music is an incredibly important part of my life, and I hope it stays, and it will always stay that way. And it's a gift.
I said, take a look at what you say. Hold to yourself and be careful of the tone of your voice. Oh, in your head. Oh, yeah. Now take a look at what you say.
another side to my guest, Akram Baker, and we can't show you a copy of the CD they're recording there because it hasn't been released yet, but it will be within a week or so. And he's going to give us 2 copies signed by all the band, promising here on air. The latest album of Wild Circus to give away. So write to us at insight@dw.de and you could be one of the 2 lucky winners of the CD. Sometimes people misunderstand me and think we're going to send you all a CD. But I hasten to add, we do get rather a lot of post. And Akram can't give away piles and piles. But we will have that. We can't show it, but it's about to happen.
Yeah, it's about to happen. We're very proud of the album. It's called Cannonball.
Yeah.
And
this is a bit more than a hobby, I believe. Is it? I mean,
absolutely.
You guys really want to go for it.
We're serious. We're serious about it. We're going for it. You have to live your dreams. And I think my music allows me to do my work better. And my on the professional side, and my professional side allows me to do my music better. They're all intertwined, and people often ask me, "Oh, they're different lives," and I say, "No, it's my life," and I love them both.
I can completely agree with you. Many of people who watch the program regularly know I'm a bit of a muso myself. Listening to the accents there, actually, it seems to be a very multicultural band. Would I be right? I heard an Australian accent, definitely.
Well, the Australian, actually, he's the sound engineer
I'm
from
sorry.
the studio.
Important.
But the band is very multicultural. Oops, excuse me. Yeah, the band is very multicultural. We have 2 Germans. Both are Berliners. We have Nilesh is a Brit from an Englishman who's both of his parents are Indian immigrants, and Lucas is the bass guitarist, is half German, half English, lived in Portugal most of his life. So, and me being an American of Palestinian descent who is part German himself.
Do you find there are very different views musically between, do you notice sort of very German view or a very Australian, well, he's the sound engineer, sorry, and a very Indian English view or is it?
Well, we definitely have different influences and we have different upbringings. But when you put all of that together, and what comes out is the Wild Circus, and that's what I think makes the band very special, is we've taken all of these different backgrounds, influences, food, if you like. Nilesh and I like to say we're the only ones who have the good food, but
we've got 1 minute left, so I just want to ask you, your son was born in Hamburg, one daughter was born in Munich, the other one in Jerusalem, as you mentioned. I hope you're on the birth certificate now. Do they feel they have a nationality?
That's a good question.
We've only got about 45 seconds.
Yes. I think culturally they feel that they are German Americans, American Germans, and their hearts are Palestinian. And their food is Palestinian. Yeah, it's strange. Like all of us multicultural children, our homes are where we lay our hats. And our homes are with our family and where our hearts are.
And is this your home, do you think, now? Is this
partly it is. My
you
home
can't
is,
say it is.
No, it is and it isn't.
Okay.
I love it when I'm here. When I'm gone, I miss it.
That's a great way to end the programme. Akram Baker, thank you very much for being our guest.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you for watching. Do write in for the CD that doesn't exist yet, but it's going to be there. Insight@dw.de. Join me again at the same time next week for another guest on Insight Germany from myself, all the crew here in Berlin. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.